Lollipop Chainsaw 2 is an unannounced video game that would be developed by Grasshopper Manufacture and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. The original game was famously created in partnership with Suda51, who created Killer 7 and No More Heroes, along with James Gunn, who is known now for working on the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Lollipop Chainsaw was released back in 2012, and since then, fans have continued to voice the want for a return to the series, whether that be in the form of a remaster or a true sequel. Let's break down why this hasn't happened yet, and if we should expect the return of Lollipop Chainsaw sometime in the future. As always, all the sources will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check those out and support those original articles. And with that out of the way, let's get into where is Lollipop Chainsaw 2. Let's start by discussing the sales for Lollipop Chainsaw. Usually with games that have a cult following but never receive a sequel, it's due to low sales, but that doesn't seem to be the case with Lollipop Chainsaw. 2 months after the release, the CEO of Grasshopper Manufacture said that Lollipop Chainsaw had shipped 700,000 copies worldwide. I want to acknowledge selling games and shipping games are not the same thing, because shipped games just reference the amount of inventory that stores order, but higher shipping numbers usually relate to higher demand, plus the CEO said that this number was a new record high for the developer. A few years later, in March of 2014, it was announced that Lollipop Chainsaw had sold over 1 million copies worldwide, so clearly the game was a success for the studio, and was one of those games that had only gained a bigger following as more time passed from the original release. I also want to quickly touch on the ending of the game and discuss whether it sets up a sequel. The game has 2 endings depending on if all the classmates are saved throughout the story or not. If everyone is saved, all the characters go back to Juliet's house and celebrate her birthday with her mother. If even one of her classmates is not saved, then the bad ending will be triggered, where the characters return to Juliet's house and see that Juliet's mom is now a zombie. In terms of sequels, most fans think the bad ending will be canon due to its more open nature and more cliffhanger ending, but we really don't know. The one thing we do know is that this game does set up a sequel and there is more world to play and more story to tell. So if the game was a success financially and the ending sets up a potential sequel, why didn't the sequel happen? What about the creatives behind the project? Suda51 did an interview with GameBite in 2019 and discussed if the team would ever develop Lollipop Chainsaw 2. He said, "Generally, what we try to do is to constantly create new IPs and do new challenges, but at the same time, we also like listening to fan voices, which we've mentioned before, and the loudest voice we hear are generally for Lollipop Chainsaw. That's something that we seem to hear a lot of people wanting to see more of. Whether or not that is the original game being released on a new platform or whether it is a sequel. That's something a lot of people seem to want and we think would be kind of cool to do. Yeah, I would like to make a new one, but it would be a really hard thing to do. First of all, the IP is owned in cooperation with Warner and Kadokawa Games, so obviously I'd have to get their okays before I did anything like that. But yeah, if I could work with James Gunn and do a cooperation and create a new Lollipop Chainsaw, I think that would be a lot of fun." And there are a lot of details here. First being that Suda is willing to return and make a sequel, which is something he usually doesn't do. He doesn't directly say if they return to the series that it will be in the form of a sequel. He says, quote, "whether or not that is the original game being released on a new platform," which basically means a remaster. And if there is ever a chance of a sequel, a remaster would most likely come first. Many publishers don't want to pay for a full sequel unless they know the demand is there. And with a lot of these franchises that have been dormant now for many years, first they will create a remaster, and then if the remaster sells well enough and drums up enough support, they will start the development process on a sequel. I say this very often on my channel, but if you want to see a sequel, a remaster most likely will come first, and the community then has to support that remaster and let the developer and publisher know that there's more interest in this series. In terms of a true sequel, Suda says this would be more complicated because the IP is owned by two different companies, both of which would have to approve any continuation of the series. He also says he would want James Gunn to return, who is also very busy working on a lot of different projects. So it's not impossible that a sequel is created, but it would have to be the perfect storm of creatives and the right timing to ensure it's a sequel worthy of the original. So where does that leave us now? As of now, it seems unlikely that Lollipop Chainsaw 2 is coming, and it's not due to a lack of fan support either. All parties involved know that fans really enjoyed the game and would love to see a sequel, but due to complex IP rights, in addition with Suda and James Gunn both working on different projects, the time still doesn't seem right. All that being said, a remaster is a different story, and could definitely be done on a smaller scale for modern consoles and PC, and technically they wouldn't have to get Suda or James Gunn involved, and they could hire out a different development studio to work on this remaster. So I do hope eventually we hear about a remaster being worked on, but that would have to be also a very special thing for these rights holders to come together to create. Either way, that's where I'm going to end this video, and hopefully that helped explain where Lollipop Chainsaw 2 is. Make sure to like and share this video, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.